Okay, in this tutorial, we're going to review the climate change assessment that you will have recently completed. And it's really important you pay attention to all of my bits of information I give you regarding how to answer these questions, and that you possibly and probably revisit this tutorial at a later date, especially when you're preparing for your final exams, because it's really useful to see how you should be answering questions, especially as you might encounter these questions or very similar questions again. So let's start by having a look at the first question you will have seen, which is a bar graph showing average global temperature changes. Now, what you can see, first of all, on your screen is what I would call a weak answer. Now, why is this a weak answer? Well, first of all, there are 4 points, and we can count that by just seeing that there are 4 clear bullet points. However, whilst the student has tried to make 4 different statements, showing that they've seen what the mark is worth, they haven't actually achieved what the question wants, which is describe in detail. So they tell us that the temperature has risen between 1996 and 2016, which it clearly has done. But if they told us that it had gone from 0.2 to 0.8, then they would have achieved their first mark, but they didn't do so. They do go on to tell us it starts at 0.2 in 1996, which is giving a bit of data with a date, but the question does say average global temperature change. So there's no idea that it is 0.2 higher than 1950, which is actually what this graph is based on. Had they said that, that it's 0.2 higher than the 1950 level, that would have gotten the mark. Or if they'd said it started at 0.2 and finished at 0.8, they would have got a mark, but they haven't told us anything about change. The third point about it going up a bit and then down, well, that's very general. So they have given us a date at 2000, but they haven't told us what it went up to and when, which is there, or that it went down to 0.3 in 2000. So they'd give us some data to match that. They would have got a mark. They do tell us in this final sentence that it's rising quite fast at the end of the graph, which we can see is true, but they haven't told us from what to what. So it goes from 0.6 to 0.8 in the space of a couple of years. If you now want to have a look and just pause the video, and what I strongly suggest you do is you look at exactly how each of these sentences has been constructed, because not all of you got 4 marks for this question. And actually what I would say is there are 5 statements here, which is what I think makes this a really good answer, because it guarantees that the 4 marks has been achieved. Every single point is made with dates and amounts of change and refers to the graph. It's also written in a way that's very clear to follow what's going on. And that is the way, even if you did get full marks, probably the way you want to approach answering these bar graph style questions. Okay, now I'm assuming you've read through and just paid close attention to this first answer, the detailed one that would got 4 out of 4. Let's have a look at question 2. Now you do really need to be careful in this answer because it does say other effects. So it really wants you to avoid the melting of Arctic sea ice in your answer because it's already pointed that out. And it also wants you to explain. So let's have a look at what is a bad answer. Although when you first look at it, you might think that's a really good answer, but no, it would get nothing, this one. Now, what makes it look good is we've got California, polar bears, Europe, United States. We've got lots of facts, places mentioned in our answer, and we've got what looks like lots of effects. But in fact, when you read them, they're all describing. So rising sea levels are causing people's land to be flooded. That is true. But actually, what does that mean? So that obviously means that people lose their crops and go hungry and have to move away. Likewise, in California, wildfires, that's true. It's not just hot, it's actually because it's dry. And what you then have to do is tell us how wildfires might affect people or wildlife. And there's nothing like that in the sentence. Polar bears are dying. Okay, yes, they are, but why? So no mark for that point there. Hot weather killing people in Europe. I don't really know anything about what that means. Is that in winter? When is that? Why are people dying? So no mark there. Hurricanes. Why are hurricanes worse? I don't know why, and I don't know how hurricanes are affecting people in the United States, how maybe destroying homes or blowing over sea defenses. And finally, it has been caused by people burning fossil fuels. Well, clearly that point has got nothing to do with the effects of climate change. That's a cause. And the question is about effects. So you have to be careful. There's no point telling me about what causes something if that's not in the question. What I'd suggest you now do is pause this and read through what is a very good answer where every effect is fully explained and linked to how people or the landscape or animals, wildlife are affected. Okay, I'm assuming you've now read through this strong answer. Let's have a look at question 3. We have a very simple map with 3 elements to the key showing us areas of greater risk from climate change. And we're asked to describe, most importantly, in detail. So to get the detail, you have to be very specific. You cannot be general. So this weak answer, which only gets 0 out of 4, first thing you'll notice about it is that it's quite weak because it's only got 3 points. So straight away, it's unlikely to be getting full marks. Second of all, this first point says Asia. Now, if there was a flooding risk in Asia, which there is in this area of India or Southern Asia, then you could have been credited a mark. But because you didn't identify that, Asia is not enough detail. Water stress in parts of South America, well, that is true. There are parts of South America with water stress, but we don't know which part. So if we'd said the northern region, that would have got a mark. There is also flooding risk in Japan. Well, that is plain just not true because there is Japan on the map and there is nothing indicating flooding in Japan. So no mark there. If you pause it now and have a look at this answer, you will see a different way of answering. First of all, there's 4 clear points, and each point made is about a specific area of the planet, very specific: Southeast Asia, northern region of Africa, just change that to drought, central region of America around Mexico, and sub-Saharan region of Africa, which is this area here. Most importantly, all 3 parts of the key were used. And that's important when you get a key on a map and you're asked to describe, that you use every element of the key in your answer. Right, let's look at the 4th question. That's assuming you've now had a good look at the answer to question 3. So here we have, how can we manage climate change? Now, here is an answer with 6 points. So the student has acknowledged there's a 6-mark question to be answered. So why have they got 0 out of 6? People eating less meat? I don't know how that helps manage climate change. Turning off light bulbs? I don't know how that manages climate change. How does electric cars reduce the effects of climate change? Renewable energy, why is that good for climate change? Nothing is described in detail. Managing the problem, taking less planes? Using more trains? Almost got an idea there, but not quite finished off, so no mark. And recycling more and throwing less. Once again, it would manage climate change, but I don't know how. All of these points don't offer detail, okay? They all just describe at a very basic level a solution. Here, if you want to pause the video in a second, you will see not only each of those points, because I've started each of those points just as I have above, but now you can see the detail being added, which gets you the mark. Now, many people who wrote answers to this in the assessment didn't get full marks because they didn't offer the level of detail required behind a point to score the mark. Pay attention to all 4 of these. Revisit them at a later date when you're preparing for assessments, especially big end-of-year assessments, prelims, or maybe your final exams in 4th year.